Welcome back to Trucking PA and Beyond. This weekend we're on another adventure to northwestern Pennsylvania. We're currently at Oil Creek State Park. Chipper!
Hi! I got a piece of apple, but
We've stopped at the Blood Farm area. And we should come to some oil relics from the time of the oil boom in this area. Here's the Blood Farm Interpretive Trail. Oh, this is one of those markers for a well. Half of it's chipped off though. But it was well number 520. So this is going to be an easy walk, 1/2 mile, through land farmed by the Blood family, until oil changed their lives, and eventually the world. First oil lease on 5 of the farm's 440 acres produced more oil than all other Oil Creek Valley leases combined. Wow. All right. There's so much history here at this park and in this area. I'll try to pull up some of the facts throughout our visit. But I think it was 1859 when Colonel Drake drilled the first successful oil well in the world right here in this area. Information board about the Blood family. They were living in their home with 13 children. A dilapidated house on 440 acres. And it talks about how the family's life changed in August 1859 when Edwin Drake successfully drilled for oil nearby. 1861, the Ocean Petroleum Company began drilling for oil on 5 acres of the Blood Farm, producing several gushing wells. And this success attracted speculator Sutherland Seeley, who purchased the Blood Farm from the family in 1864 for $550,000, which is equivalent to over $8 million today. It was the largest amount paid for an Oil Creek property during the boom. Looks like we're coming up to one of the relics. There's another one right there. So this talks more about the oil boom and how it benefited landowners like the Bloods in 2 ways. First, they sold drilling leases to companies and individuals. Second, landowners earned royalties of 10 to 50% on each barrel of oil produced. The oil speculator took all the risk, from buying machinery to paying workers to actually drilling. Each well cost $1,000 to $5,000 to drill, and only 10% of wells made a profit. Of the 89 wells drilled on the blood farm, the first wells produced the most oil. Let's see what we have in here. Besides the nice, creepy, Halloweenish spider webs. It looks like, I would say that's an oil barrel. Oh, it has that oil smell. Wish I had some smell-o-vision. I've watched so many videos on this park, and I'm so excited to finally be here and get to see some of this history. I find it really fascinating. Let's see, this talks about locating a well. In the mid-1800s, deciding where to drill for oil involved luck, superstition, and a call for divine guidance. Actual skill and knowledge were minimal. Prospector, driven by oil fever, sometimes resorted to a divining rod, a Y-shaped stick from a witch hazel tree the prospector believed would twitch when he held it and walked over a spot particularly rich in oil. So if you watched my video about Bendigo, Sizerville, Elk, and Chapman State Parks, I had mentioned that I am slowly coming to an end on my quest to get to all of Pennsylvania state parks, and that at that point I only had 5 left to go. This weekend we're going to get to 3 of those state parks, this being the first. Powering wells. An oil well needs engine power, first to drill the well and then to pump out the oil. By the 1870s, oil producers realized a separate engine for each well wasted energy and money. Instead, they developed central powerhouses like this one. The engine inside the central power, a 15 horsepower Reed engine manufactured in Oil City, supplied power to simultaneously pump oil from 22 wells. In the late 1800s, the blood farm featured 7 central powers that operated more than 80 wells. So that's a central power engine. Let's see. There we go. And that would power 22 wells. This is so cool. Like a kid in a candy store. So thrilled. And you know what? Clap on the back for the Pennsylvania state parks for preserving this history. Let's see what this information board is about. Environmental damage. So this talks about how the oil boom wreaked havoc on the natural environment of the Oil Creek Valley. Gushing wells and leaky barrels covered the ground with oozing crude oil and mud. When barrels were scarce, producers directed oil into leaky, open ponds. Smoke filled the air from the burning gas that fueled pump engines. Fire rampaged through refineries and oil fields, spilling burning oil into the aptly named creek. Where Osprey once plucked fish from the water, no one even dared to swim. Crops would not grow on the oil-soaked soil, and the price of food skyrocketed. What a great trail. I love these information boards. See, we're talking about from well to market. Oil boom frenzy focused on striking it rich by drilling for oil. However, the hundreds of barrels a well could produce each day were worthless unless the oil could reach a refinery, usually far from the Oil Creek Valley. At first, producers loaded oil barrels onto flatboats and floated them down Oil Creek to the Allegheny River. The unreliable water levels made this process challenging. Then the teamsters transported barrels of oil by wagon over muddy, rutted roads. Both options frequently led to accidental oil spills. Railroad lines eventually offered a less expensive, more reliable option. Oil pipelines, however, later proved to be even more efficient than railroad lines. Looks like we might get a glimpse of Oil Creek down here. Let's take a look. I think I read somewhere that the creek was so polluted with oil that it would actually catch fire. Wow, it is crystal clear. Board, and this talks about healing the land and water. And after just 15 boom years, oil production in the Oil Creek Valley declined, and nature began the healing process. Farmers once again planted crops, shrubs, and trees started to grow around abandoned wells, and oil-saturated waters began the slow process of recovery. Today, the valley that changed the world is fully forested with large second growth trees. Wildlife abounds, from the white-tailed deer to the ruffed grouse to trout. Pretty cool, Pennsylvania. Alright, well, the bridge looks a little rickety. Oh, there goes Brave Sue.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, it seems solid. It looked a little weathered, but it seems solid. I have to drive, so I can't get a broken leg.
Well, you only need your right foot.
That's true. That is true. And we've made another stop. This is Petroleum Centre. Ooh, that's a cool bridge down there. It's closed.
Yeah. You could probably hump over.
So this is a train station that's still in use.
Cute.
I'm gonna pick up one of those. Pick up a park map. Oh, that's cute. Well, not cute, but informational. There's QR codes for a hospital, should you need it. Oh, wow.
It's cool inside there. Maybe maybe it's only open on the weekends.
I don't know if we can see this on there. Oh, a little bit, I think. Alright, so I don't know if they got on the train here.
No, I don't think they did. Because if you look at the map, the train tracks go real far.
All the way to the end.
Yeah, like real far. So they must come from like a little town. You know,
Well,
like,
I think it said something about Titusville. Maybe Titusville to Oil City or something like that.
yeah, probably.
Oh, here. You are at Petroleum Centre Station of Oil Creek and Titusville Railroad at Oil Creek State Park. This is a flag stop for the OC&T. Looks like in October they run the trains on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And Saturday and Sunday. Full round-trip excursions begin at Perry Street Station in Titusville, just 15 minutes away.
Oh, yeah, there's a thing here. Look at this thing, when the train would come. The whole... Pretty neat.
It is really cool. This park is just full of history. So we're still in Petroleum Centre, and they have all of these little information boards along road, and this one is about the Central House Hotel and Railroad Depot. In the early days of the oil excitement, housing was at a premium. Travelers were advised to carry no baggage except a small traveling bag or haversack suspended by a strap over the shoulder, and told that a blanket will be found very convenient in case no bed can be obtained. It was not long before accommodations were available, and the Central House Hotel ranked among the best. President Grant even attended a reception there during his visit to the oil regions in 1871. A fire burned the hotel in 1878, one of the great fires that hit Petroleum Centre in its waning days. Wildcat Hollow, you're facing Hogback Hill. Behind it lies Wildcat Hollow, one of the many productive fields in the early oil era. According to tradition, a speculator who risked his luck by drilling in this narrow valley shot a wildcat, had it stuffed, and set it atop his derrick. Mounted cat gave its name to the hollow. Because the area was largely untested and somewhat away from the Oil Creek Flats, the term wildcatter was coined, describing a person who risked drilling in unproven territory. Fortunes lost and won. Central Petroleum Company office. In February 1864, the Central Petroleum Company bought G.W. McClintock Farm on this side of Oil Creek. It soon became the flourishing town of Petroleum Centre, so named because of its location in the middle of the oil region. The company's lease claimed 1/2 of any oil found and stipulated that any building could be torn down on 30 days' notice to make way for a new well on its site. Oh, cool. I saw this in the video. The old steps, I believe, to the bank. Let's see. Yep, George H. Bissell and Company Bank. These old concrete steps are all that remain of the only brick building ever built in Petroleum Centre. George H. Bissell, part owner, was in on oil from the very beginning. He first recognized the possibilities of petroleum as an illuminant when he examined a bottle of crude oil in the office of Dr. Dixie Crosby at Dartmouth Medical School in 1853. Bissell and his partner Jonathan Eveleth organized the first petroleum company in 1854, the Pennsylvania Rock Oil Company. Bissell operated oil wells along the creek for a number of years and also made oil barrels at his factory in Franklin. He built the bank in 1866. His photo was taken in 1868. Shows the town at the height of its prosperity. The bank closed in 1874. So you can see all the little information boards along the road. Really does look like the Wild West. And This is about the Rochester House, which was a hotel built in 1864. The hotel burned in April 1880. And I won't read this whole signage board, but if you want, you can pause the video and read it in its entirety. The hardware store, Robeson and Company Hardware. The store was opened in 1864. Ooh, they had an opera house. It says that entertainment proved to be another profitable enterprise in oil Boomtown. Opera House featured musicals, comedies, dramas, one-man shows, and prominent writers and orators. Acts that attracted the most attention featured unusual mental or physical capabilities. One such act was Billy Moorhead's billed as the only man in the country that could write up and down with both hands at the same time. Lakeshore Block. Lakeshore Block. Visitors to Petroleum Centre noticed the pungent smell of oil hanging heavily in the air and heard many sounds. The pant of the steam locomotive as it pulled into the station, the clank of the blacksmith's hammer, the jingle of buggy traces, and perhaps shouts from a brawl taking place in one of the free and easies where whiskey flowed freely. The Lakeshore Block, located a short distance beyond the railroad tracks, contained several boarding houses, livery stables, and a few homes. The Lakeshore House and the Oakland Hotel provided good accommodations for travelers alighting from the train, as well as more permanent living quarters.
Check out the stump all the way to the end.
The
Stump at the
a
end?
stump?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Oh, there were churches. Find the 3 church steeples in this picture. Oh boy. Well, I would say that's 1, and that's 2, and I would say that's the 3rd one. Central Petroleum Company donated land in 1867 for the churches. 3 sentinels of hope in an otherwise vicious town. One writer stated, "The fact is, in Petrolia, the church universally believed in is an engine house with a derrick for its tower, a well for its Bible, and 2-inch tube for its preacher, with mouth rotund, bringing forth things both new and old, in the shape of 200 barrels per day of crude oil mingled with salt water." It says that Saints Peter and Paul's Catholic Church and the Presbyterian Church lasted long after the oil boom ended. The Methodist Episcopal Church dissolved as the town declined. Buffalo Bakery, built and operated by O.F. Schonblum. The Buffalo Bakery originally stood at the far end of Washington Street. Schonblum, a German immigrant, opened the bakery in 1865. Fire destroyed the first building and its contents on June 2, 1876, along with nearly 40 other buildings in the north end of town. Undaunted by his loss, Schonblum I don't know if I'm saying it correctly. I'm trying. Rebuilt the bakery at this location in the central business section of town. After Sean Blom left the area, Silas Hughes, a longtime resident, took over. Unfortunately, fire, which had cost Hughes his business in earlier days, struck again in April 1880, and the Buffalo Bakery passed into history. Benninghoff Run Horse Railroad. The J.V. Criswell firm of Harrisburg built the horse railroad in 1865 for $20,000. The track started near the present railroad crossing of Oil Creek, just up Washington Street, and ran about a mile up Benninghoff Run. As the gravity railroads used by loggers, horses, and oxen pulled the empty cars uphill. Workers filled them with oil barrels, then coasted the cars down to the banks of Oil Creek. They loaded the barrels onto barges. Less than 2 months after its completion, a spectacular fire seriously damaged the railroad. Sparks from a smokestack ignited a tank of oil at the head of the run, and the whole valley became a river of liquid fire. For nearly a mile, one vast sheet of flame shot heavenward. So intense was the heat that, as a news story reports, the noise of splitting rock was like the constant roll of musketry. The fire destroyed the railroad's bridges and warped the rails. Another fire in March wrote the end of the venture. Oh, that's interesting. This looks like people find relics and they're placing them on the stump. There's pottery and glassware. That's pretty cool. I find these pictures so interesting. It's amazing to think that these buildings stood here in the 1800s. This is about Upper Washington Street. On Washington Street, the baker, shoemaker, jeweler, and other tradesmen shared the scene with many unsavory characters. Swindlers operated keno games, and drunks reeled from overindulgence with tanglefoot whiskey, so called because people got so drunk on it that their feet tangled. Photo shows George H. Clark's Central Machine Works on the left side of the street. Enticed to the center from New Jersey by an officer of the Central Petroleum Company, George soon established a booming business. Clark tools were considered the best that money could buy. For nearly 3 blocks past the bend in the street, a hodgepodge of concert saloons, bawdy houses, unlicensed grog shops, and other unsavory establishments gave Petroleum Centre its reputation as the wickedest town in the oil region. The oil city Derrick declared that the center could have given Sodom and Gomorrah points in wrecking weak mortals and sending them to the devil by the shortest cut. A. Smalley Livery. Smalley's Livery must have done a brisk trade. Before the railroad was extended downstream from Schaefer Farm, boating and teaming were the only methods of transporting oil. Oil could only be boated up the creek 5 months of the year during high water. Flatboats carried 75 to 100 barrels each. There were no towpaths. The horses dragged the boats upstream by wading against the current. About 100 boats a day made this trip. Passengers also rode boats to Schaefer and Oil City but most went on horseback or by horse and wagon. Dragon would have been cool, but it was a horse and wagon. During the rest of the year, an endless train of wagons plied the muddy roads. Teamsters charged $1.50 per barrel to carry it the 4 miles from Petroleum Centre to Schaefer. A man with 2 stout horses earned $20 a day clear. The horses and mules that dragged the boats up Oil Creek in cold weather had a terrible task. Slush and ice shaved hair off their legs. Badly treated, few horses survived. They fared little better on land. Oil dripping from the barrels mixed with mud to make a paste that destroyed their capillary glands and hair. A long caravan of these hairless beasts gave a ghostly aspect to the landscape. That's pretty horrible. I'm not going to read the rest because I'm losing my voice already. This one is about the Petroleum Centre Daily Record. And you can pause the video if you want to read it in its entirety. We have George H. Bissell. Who organized the Pennsylvania Rock Oil Company. And again, you can pause the video if you'd like to read. Looks like we have 2 more. Let's see. This one is about mud and how it was a major transportation problem. Is about the McClintock House, which was both a hotel and commercial building with offices for oilmen and attorneys, a boot shop, and a billiard parlor. You can see over here, so check that out. And there's Sue. Friend Sue is along on this trip, and I'm very grateful for her. She's gone on many adventures with me. I did see the stump. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, maybe when they were like to the old village or something they found and stuff.
Yeah. This is the A.D. Cotton Bank and Sheriff Hardware. And it looks like there's another one right up here. They said that there were 49ers that came to town, and they said it was worse here than the gold rush towns. Oh, this one's cool. That gives a look right down Washington Street. It really does look like the Wild West. That's pretty cool.
Must have been one crazy town.
Mm-hmm.
You read some of the stories on outside.
Yeah, wilder than the Wild West.
What do you want?
Here comes the... Pretty cool. Yeah, it is packed. It is loaded with people. So cool. to see this. The Benninghoff Farm Tableau. And there should be some oil derricks here. This, I did not even see this on the park map. So I have to say thank you to Wally B, because I would not have known these were here if I didn't see his video. Oil derricks. Don't mind my heavy breathing. That was a steep little incline up here. But there we go. Wow. So cool. This project was financed by the PA Heritage Parks Program with the Pennsylvania DCNR. So cool. Looks like a pump. Walking right under the oil derrick. Belden and Blake Corp. Alright, we have an information board here. Ah, there it is. The Benninghoff Farm boom. The site was the farm of John Benninghoff, who became extremely wealthy when drillers discovered that oil could be produced from stony hillsides instead of only along flat creek side areas. In the fall of 1865, when the completed ocean well drilled on a steep hillside started producing 300 barrels a day, oil opportunists descended on Benninghoff, wanting to lease his land. Benninghoff rented small lots at boom prices, plus 1/4 of the oil. And shortly, a dozen wells were being drilled all over his 240-acre land. He soon had an estimated income of $6,000 a day, which in 1865 was a lot of money. Amazing. Okay, so we actually were able to get up to the cemetery. I don't know if we'll be able to make out any names or dates. Oh, here. Mary. McGoldrick, 1851, 1887. Someone's putting flags up here. I think that's a military.
Yeah. Civil War?
EAR. The Smiths. April 2nd, 1814, September 6th, 1890. Yeah, some of them you can't make out. Maybe if I had water, sometimes if you wet it, you can see it a little better. I think they were drilling even up here. Unless that's a grave marker, but I don't know why they would have it with the metal fence. I have a feeling there are a lot more folks buried here than there are tombstones. Wilcox, last name.
What's that one guy's name? Beck down there? Go ahead.
Benninghoff?
No, these people's names are Beck Farmer. Tombstone. That's Davis there.
George Lawrence. Oh, he's got a military. Another GAR. Briggs, Betts.
Does that mean the Grand Army? GAR?
Grand Army of the Republic, is that it?
Yeah, I think so.
I just saw, oh, it's a turkey vulture flying over the cemetery. I said I have a feeling there are a lot more people buried here than there are
Oh, probably.
headstones.
They probably didn't. Maybe the tombstones got destroyed or they didn't have money for one, or who knows.